Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from simpleprogrammer.com. I gotta make sure my video's on. Yes, it is. All right, that's good. You wouldn't believe how many times I record videos without sound, without my mic turned on. And sometimes I even record videos without even clipping my mic on. It's amazing. And usually when I do that, I'll record like a block of like an hour worth of video, or just record this long ass video that's just fantastic. I've got energy. I've just nailed it. I haven't said one time. I haven't said anyway. And then I go and I download the file onto my computer and I'm ready to listen to this. I'm like, damn, you're looking good, John. Your muscles are looking good. You're looking good. Put in my headphones, go to listen to my wonderful oration, and it's not there. It's just my mouth moving. And I think to myself, every time I do this, I think, how can I make this work? What could I do? And there's no data. There's no source audio. At one point I thought maybe I could like get a lip reader to read my lips, and then, but then I just scrap it and I try to do it over, and it's never as good as the first time I did it. What are we talking about today? Today we are talking about a question I got called, are you an NLP master? So it says, hi John, I just watched your video about Tony Robbins' UPW event and wondered what you are thinking about NLP in general. Do you use any of these techniques, or do you have other tips to build rapport with people? If so, do you have any book recommendations about NLP? Also, kudos for your book. Great stuff. Best regards, Stefan. Stefan is a pretty damn cool name. Stefan said, congrats on my book. That gives me the license to plug my book, which is Soft Skills, a Software Developer's Life Manual. It does not contain NLP in it, but it should. So, what do I think about NLP? Am I an NLP master? No, I'm not an NLP master. I wish I was an NLP master. Maybe someday I will be. I think NLP is great. I think that it is an excellent model for understanding human psychology, adding a little bit of philosophy to it, a little bit of woo-woo-ness in there, because there's some element of that. We can't just, something happened really wrong historically, which was that philosophy used to be a very large branch of science. In fact, all of science really came from philosophy. The original philosophers, the Greek philosophers, even Indian philosophers, way back before then, they sort of founded science, right? Because philosophy was the study of things, of how things, the natural world, and it was a lot of things. But essentially, what ended up happening in the West, in America, is that philosophy became rational philosophy, and we totally lost the other aspects of philosophy, the sort of, what is it called? Not influential, inspirational. I'm not thinking of the word for it, but essentially what we lost in philosophy was the rest of that. And what ended up happening is that we just have this rational philosophy, where if you go and you take a philosophy class in college, it's really sad, because logic is a lot of fun, okay? Saying all bats eat shit, therefore, all shit is not a bat, or everything that eats shit is a bat, or something like that, right? You know what I'm talking about when you figure out these logic. That's a lot of fun. But that is not, we're missing a huge part of philosophy when we just make it rational. And so why am I talking about that when I'm supposed to be talking about NLP? Well, because I believe that NLP sort of brings a little bit of that back in there, because NLP is not exactly rational science, right? This stuff does not exactly make sense. We don't understand exactly why this stuff works, but it does work. Okay, it does work, and it's a good model. Okay, and I've talked about models before, but essentially, models are not truth. They're not accurate. They are more accurate, and they're closer to accurate, and they're models. They help us to understand something. And some models are totally wrong, right? They're totally wrong, but the mechanism in looking at the world through that model actually works. You put it in the input, you get the output that you want, even though this black box that you're looking at, you called it a turtle, but it's really a rhinoceros. That's the best way I can describe models. It's a turtle, You called it a turtle, but it's really a rhinoceros. The point is that it's a black box, right? And models allow us to, if they're good models, even if they're not accurate models, is that they allow us to control what kind of outputs we get from the inputs that we put in. That's how it's useful to us. And so in psychology, I think this is very useful, right? I think NLP combines a lot of different fields of psychology, and some of them, like I said, are a bit woo-woo. It is a bit of a strange thing, but it does work, right? You can't argue with the results. And maybe there would be a more accurate, a more refined model that understands how things works, but it's not just a model, but it's an abstraction, right? Because we can operate at that level, and NLP is very simple because the model is simple, and you can teach it to people simply, and you can give them a very, very powerful tool that works with the way that their brain wiring works, even if we don't understand exactly how it works, if that makes sense to you. So I'm a big proponent of NLP. I think it's a very useful tool. I did a book review on a book about NLP. You can check that out here. That's the only book really that I've read on NLP, like specifically on NLP. I would like to study this more. I'll probably eventually get an NLP certification and go through NLP training, just for the fact of just getting better at doing this, right? Because I know the theory behind it, and I know what I'm supposed to do, and I know how it generally works. By the way, I haven't even defined NLP. It's Neuro-Linguistic Programming. So essentially, NLP is it's a kind of a model for viewing your psychology, where you can program yourself from a neuro-linguistic standpoint. So certain words that you say, the way that you say words, how you visualize things in your mind. A lot of NLP is visualization. So if I want to program myself, I can use an anchor, right? So something that I touch on myself, or some kind of trigger, basically an anchor, and I can think of some kind of feeling or image in my head, and I can make that image bigger, or I can make it louder, or I can, if I want to change some imagery and make something like a fear or phobia go away, I can make it smaller, or make it black and white, and make it less, I can change the way that my brain processes that and brings up that idea, and I can anchor it to an actual touch or an actual stimulus on my body, and it actually really works. I know this stuff sounds crazy, but it is really, really effective. And so Tony Robbins is definitely a big NLP practitioner. Most of his stuff, if you study NLP and you study what Tony Robbins teaches, is that you'll find that most of his stuff really is NLP. Right, that's what it is. That's the core of what he does. But he takes an even simpler model, right? So NLP is still it's not a complicated model, but it's more complex. But he takes it to one step further, and he puts another layer, another abstraction or model on top of it. That's an even simpler one in some ways, and in some ways it has nuances of some of the things that he believes or that he's found. And I find that his model is actually very effective as well. So I think this is something that most people should study. I think you can really benefit from understanding at least a little bit of NLP and being able to use that. And you can use it, first of all, to program yourself. That's the most useful aspect of NLP, is that you can literally change how you feel and how you respond to things. You can change your own psychology, or you can rebuild yourself to correct deficiencies, to correct phobias, personality flaws, things that are plaguing you, overcome addictions. There's a lot of useful applications for NLP on yourself, but you can also use it to help others as well, right? You can now some people could get into some dark arts with NLP. I'm sure of that, but you can also use it in a very positive manner, just like any tool. So some people are like, oh, NLP, whatever. I get it, but it's how you use the tool. It's not the tool itself, right? I'm not going to get into a debate about guns, but you could say this. A lot of people say the same thing there, right? Or let's say knives. It's not the knife that's the enemy. It's the person that wields the knife. So that's it. I think it's useful. I think it's good. I would definitely check it out if you get a chance. Like I said, I did a book review. You can check out that book review I did on NLP. I recommend that book. It's a good introduction to NLP that goes over some of the concepts and puts you through some of the exercises. But I do believe that you have to practice this stuff enough and that's why I want to go to a training and actually develop my skills so I can actually become an NLP master. But I do use the techniques. I do use it on myself quite a bit and reprogram myself in ways. And a lot of the things that you hear on this in these videos on this YouTube channel is sort of that, right? It's sort of my own kind of version of it, but it combines a little bit of the NLP stuff. You'll notice that, and it combines a little bit of my own kind of discoveries in personal psychology that have worked for me. But there's definitely some roots in that. So I definitely encourage you to check it out. I think it's good stuff, even though it's a little bit weird. But you gotta suspend your disbelief sometimes and see what works, even if it's not the most accurate. Models are models; they're not truth. But the question you have to ask for yourself a lot of times is, does this work? Does this system, does this model work for me? Even if I don't totally understand, even if I know there's some woo elements in there that are not the absolute truth, the question is, do I get the results from it? And that's, because so much of what you think that you know and what you think is accurate is actually false anyway. So you know what I'm saying? So if something works for you, you should not be like, oh, I'm only going to do the things that are absolutely true, that are absolutely scientifically proven. I understand that psychology, but you're never going to do anything that's going to be effective, because there's a whole lot of shit that I do that is not scientifically proven, that doesn't make any sense. It's a little bit woo-woo out there that gets enormous, ridiculous results, and a lot of other entrepreneurs have the same experience. So, you can be a skeptic and you can miss out on a lot of life, or you can start embracing some things that you don't understand and say, it's okay if I don't understand it, but it works. And that's what I've had to learn to do, and it has greatly improved the quality of my life. I can honestly say that. All right, that's enough for this video. You know what I'm going to do now? I'm going to point down. I'm going to say, click here to subscribe. If you've already subscribed, you've already seen me do this, so you can ignore me. You can just give a thumbs up or a like. But if you haven't already subscribed, what are you waiting for? Just click the subscribe button. I do about 2 to 3 new YouTube videos a day. That's right. I'm even recording them at night when I should be going to sleep, because I love you that much. Take care.